views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey everyone, how are you? Good afternoon, good morning, good evening. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee, and welcome to Open BxRx. It's our special coverage of COVID-19 and current events in our community and beyond. Coming up on today's show, we got a great one for you. Well, we'll be joined by the founder of Black Health and discuss racial issues and how they impact our community and well-being. Then we'll discuss mental health and a collective with the goal to promote wellness nationally. Then we'll hear from a local author working to promote literacy and entrepreneurship through his work. Then Bobby C has the latest in the world of sports. And then later on, we'll take a look at a group promoting local healthy eating and learn about their slow approach to nourishing your body. So stay tuned. All this and more is headed your way. We are open for business. Welcome to Open, everybody. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee, and our first guest is the co-founder of Black Health. There's some initials with it, BLKHLTH, Black Health. He joins us today to discuss their work and what it means. We welcome Matthew McCurdy to the show. Matthew, how are you?
I'm doing well today. It's a little rainy here in DC. But I'm happy to be alive in this COVID time. So glad to be on with you, Bob.
Yeah. How are you and your organization functioning during these COVID times?
Yeah, so we've had to change and shift a little bit. Our goal for the organization was really to have in-person events to allow people to connect to experts, to talk about Black health, to talk about racism and health. And so we'd have to shift to a more digital and virtual life, I think, similar to what everybody else is doing because we can't organize in person.
So you were out there in person, just going to visiting different places, different schools. How did you make that work back then?
Yeah, so we host community events. And so for our community events, we would invite expertise in different health spheres to really come in and meet with community members to talk about different aspects of health. So we would talk about racism and mental health, or maternal and child health in Black women. And so really finding spaces to connect community to experts so that they can share their experiences in order to ultimately have better health outcomes for Black people.
Yeah. What are people saying about racism and mental health at this time?
I think it's complex, right? So I think racism has an impact on sort of our everyday lives as Black people, from a sort of structural level to, the access to mental health services, access to Black and brown clinicians, but also, just dealing with discrimination can have an impact on everyday experience and everyday trauma. And so racism can be a contributor to negative mental health experiences for a lot of people at a personal level. And then we know at sort of a structural level, it makes it a bit more difficult to get care sometimes.
Yeah. Does your organization realize or notice that the pandemic has exacerbated or brought a lot of this stuff out into the open? Is it noticeable, or tell us?
Absolutely. And I'd say less so. I think my organization sees it because we talk to a lot of therapists, a lot of psychiatrists, who have confirmed that caseloads have gone up. People are having more acute issues with their sort of mental health conditions. I think one, because, we rely on social connections, as a way to sort of treat ourselves sometimes, right? And so
Yeah.
people not having access to other people, and then just sort of everything that's happening in the world causes anxiety as well from COVID, but also I think we were seeing a lot of increased energy around police brutality and things like that. So definitely have heard that mental health issues have gone up, and people are seeking treatment. So that's a good thing too.
So what is Black Health doing about this? What do you want people to realize?
I think our mission is really just to allow people, just to get people to really interrogate how racism impacts health,
Mm-hmm.
and to think through how it really impacts the health of Black people. And so Black Health really works to connect people to experts, but also to train sort of the current and future healthcare leaders to really know more about how to be anti-racist in their work, in order to, you think, at multiple levels, get people to understand the connections and also to do a better job at treating and serving Black people.
Yeah, I like that vision that you guys have, a world where racism and other intersecting forms of oppression do not determine a person's ability to achieve optimal health.
Yep.
So, yeah, I like that. And you guys are standing up to that. And what are some of the things you're doing to help support that?
Yeah. So, our main avenues of work are, like I said, through training. We host workshops with people, community organizations, schools, and even, clinics,
a
health
lot of
centers.
partnerships, right?
Yep.
You do a lot of partnerships. That's great. Yeah.
Yeah, we work with a lot of different organizations, and I think that's key, right? Because we have an expertise, but we're not experts in everything, right? And so,
Exactly.
people are experts in their experience. Clinicians, health centers are experts in sort of their health area of focus, and our goal is really just to bring those two think groups together, so that we can create a conversation that will ultimately improve clinical practice or improve outcomes for the people that are served.
That's excellent. So you guys are experts at what you do in bringing people together.
Absolutely.
Bringing those partnerships together that make sense and that are meaningful.
Yeah, I think this work has to be connected. It has to be collaborative, because health touches so many different parts of our lives, right?
Absolutely.
From where we work to our families, to policing, to what we eat, it's everything, right? And so, and our health is everything. Our bodies are everything. Our minds are everything.
You're rich in your health. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have to engage with our partners and engage with other organizations to do this work.
Do you have anything coming up that we should know about?
Not right now, but we're working on planning an event for the late fall, early winter. But you can check out our social media.
There you go.
At Black Health. That's again BLKHLTH. And we're on Instagram, Twitter. You follow us there. You can check out our website at blackhealth.com. We have a list of our events there. We have a blog. We have other resources there that are really helpful. So yeah, we love partnerships. If anybody wants to reach out to us and connect with us, you can also email us at engage@blackhealth.com.
That's wonderful. Hey, thank you for all that you're doing in our community. Thank you for your service.
All right. Yeah. Thank you.
You want to give anybody in your organization a shout out or anything?
Oh, as always, shout out to my co-founders.
There you go.
Khadijah and Paula. We're all doing really good work. We do Black Health sort of in our spare time. We all have full 9-to-5s as well. So shout out to the grind and to the community, and definitely love the support and appreciate the time to talk about the organization.
Once again, thank you for your service, and thank you for all that you're doing in our community. Matthew McCurdy, co-founder, Black Health. Yeah. Thanks for coming on, all right?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. All right, we'll take a break. We've got more coming up next. welcome back. Our next guest is the founder and CEO of BEAM. It's the Black Emotional and Mental Health Collective, and he joins us today to discuss their work. We welcome Yolo Akili Robinson. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Excited to be here to talk with you today.
Yolo Akili stands for Swahili.
Well, Akili means wise and wisdom in Swahili. It actually was a name that was given to me. I did undergraduate African American studies at Georgia State University, and as a tradition there, they would rename you. And I took on that name generally. First, it's my writing name, and it kind of became my public name from that point on.
There you go. Okay. And from there, in college, did you start this program? Did you start this foundation?
No, actually, I started BEAM about 4 years ago, actually, and it really came out of response to things that myself and many of my colleagues saw in terms of gaps, in terms of relating to mental health care. Right? We saw that when people talk about mental health, they don't talk about it in a way often that really spoke to our communities. They really kind of honor the ways in which we do healing, the way we do talk about mental health, like the ways we navigate those things. And so we want to make an institution that can really respond to that by offering resources, training, education, tools, etc. And that's literally how BEAM was born.
That's excellent. So you've been doing it for how many years now?
I've been working in public health for 15 years. BEAM has been around for 4 years now.
That's great. All right. Anybody working with you that you want to give a shout out to?
Many people, so many people, but shout out to everybody at BEAM. Of course, Mefdi, Leroy, Dr. Frazier, Dr. Dion Bates, Natalie, Holiday, whole team. I could go on all day, but love to everybody working with BEAM and across the country.
There you go. So tell us more about BEAM.
Yeah.
What it stands for, what it means.
Absolutely. So BEAM is a national training, movement building, and grant making institution dedicated to the healing, wellness, and liberation of Black and marginalized communities. Our work falls into 3 different buckets. The first bucket is training and peer support. Our training is really geared towards the understanding that most of the people in our communities and Black communities that who respond to emotional crises or emotional distress are not always just the social workers or the psychiatrists. Often the first responders are faith leaders, they are barbers, they are stylists, they are coaches, teachers, right? And those folks sometimes, so very often, don't have the skills or the tools to really show up and support folks when they're in crisis or get them connected to care if they need broader support, right? And so we focus a lot on supporting those folks with the education, the tools, refining their skills so that they can know what to do in those moments of crisis, but also understand how to change their programs, challenge their schools, their communities to really center healing and center mental health. And so a lot of our training is really built on that premise. We also have a lot of peer support programs. Right now, we do a lot of them virtually, of course. Peer support, in a sense, is saying that, spaces for Black folks to come together virtually, phone as well as video, to talk about what they're going through, from COVID-19 to our Black Masculinity Reimagined program for Black men and masculine folks to come together and talk about their struggles, things they're navigating. We provide a lot of different programs online for people to come together. And then we also do our grant making and our organizational wellness, where with our grant making, for example, we support throughout the South and other parts of the country, collectives of Black folks or groups of Black folks who are doing really dynamic healing work. We've supported barbershop education, where people go into barbers and teach them about mental health. We've supported doulas, doulas offering doula care to Black women who may not be able to afford a doula normally, but need that kind of maternal health support. And so those are the things we also support community gardens. This year we supported 2 community gardens in the rural South, Mableton, Georgia, shout out to Mableton, Georgia, and Austin, Texas. Group of Black folks who got together and said, we want to provide green foods to folks. And we know that food helps people's mental health, that they have access to better food.
Absolutely. That's
what we do right there a little bit,
we have people on that are talking about slow food and all that stuff, as opposed to fast food. So that's good. You're doing some great things, and it's not only localized, you're doing it nationwide, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we have affiliates gratefully in all parts of the country doing work. And we've also had an opportunity to collaborate with many different communities across the country. And so that's the real hope of it, right? To build a coalition, a network, so that we can mobilize and be connected and learn from each other.
Yeah, I like that. And you don't do this alone. Of course, you got some people who started it up with you.
Oh,
you want to shout out those people before they say, hey, man, you went on and didn't talk about us?
No, I mean, I know I named many of those people in the beginning, but yeah, it's definitely a collective of folks across the country. Also not even also individuals, but also our board of directors, people I mentioned earlier who make the work possible. And so my job as the executive director is really just to be the facilitator of the vision.
How has the pandemic impacted a lot of the work that you guys are doing in our community?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's meant that as soon as the pandemic hit, our website increased traffic dramatically, our programs increased attendance dramatically, and people were coming in and just reporting, as you can imagine, all kinds of amplified distress, frustration, rage, anger, despair. We saw those things go up immediately, right? Some of our parts of our website, like our virtual therapist directory, which is our Black virtual therapist directory, which is a directory of all Black virtual therapists across the country. We started seeing like 40,000, 50,000 hits every month to that part of our website. We started seeing our support programs increase 200%. People were coming through and they needed more support. They need more help. That's one of the reasons we do offer. So all our services are offered free because our folks can't afford therapy or can't have access to a therapist. And so those are the things we've seen, just amplified distress, people needing more resources and support, us trying to really be responsive, get more money out, get more support out as much as we can. Yeah.
And you have something called barriers that you aim to remove.
Yeah. So a part of our work is to remove the barriers that Black people experience getting mental health care, right? And so those are the ways in which we do that, through the education, through the training, through the peer support programs we offer, through the connection to Black virtual therapists and psychiatrists for folks. We also have on our website a list of national mobile crisis units. People can have an alternative to calling the police, because we know that a lot of times when our folks call the police in mental health distress, harm happens. So we really make sure those things are in place on our website to help people get access beyond those traditional barriers, if that makes sense.
Beam is doing a whole lot in our community, huh?
We are doing a lot. It's definitely.
So you take that deep breath. Go ahead. That sigh of, we are doing a whole lot.
Yeah, wow. A lot is needed. And, it's not just us. I mean, gratefully, we're in collaboration with so many amazing organizations across the country. Shout out to the Loveland Foundation, the Steve Fund, Black Men Heal Therapy for Black Girls, many people who are really also in collaboration doing amazing work in Black communities everywhere.
Well, how do we reach you and get more information? You got social media, you got the website and all that going on?
Yep, check out our website. We have videos, we have downloadable tools, all kinds of resources, www.beam.community, right? So we are not a .com, we are .community. That is .community. So check that out on Instagram, social media. It's @_BEAM, BEAM.org. Our Instagram has meditations on there you can check out, videos that can explain certain concepts. Check it out. Make sure you hit us up. And also check out our events calendar. We have a lot of great events coming up. We have an event coming up currently with exploring Black men and masculinity in school and mental health. We have really amazing things coming down. So make sure you check out our events page as well.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you for all the work that you're doing in our community.
Yeah.
And thank you for your service. And you represent BEAM pretty well. Excellent. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yolo Akili Robinson, founder, chief executive officer of BEAM. Thank you for coming on BronxNet.
Thank you.
All right. Website one more time.
www.beam.community. BEAM.community.
God bless you.
Thank you.
We'll talk to you soon. All right. We'll take a break. We've got more Open next. We'll be beaming it right to you on 107.5 and on Open next.
When taking public transportation, don't touch your phone. Carry hand sanitizer and use it immediately upon leaving the bus or train. Avoid touching your face. If someone is coughing or sneezing, move away. Wash your hands with soap and water as soon as possible. Limit contact with poles. If possible, avoid rush hour. Don't eat or drink on public transportation. Keep your bag off the floor or other surfaces. Avoid directly touching turnstiles. Stay up to date with the latest from your local health department and CDC.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back, everybody. Our next guest he's an author, and he joins us to share more about his recent work. We welcome Karl Lawrence to the show. Karl, now, I know you have the brand new book that just came out this month, and you state that you come from a culture where literacy and entrepreneurship is really not normal, and it's
Exactly.
rare if you see it. Explain that.
Well, I come from a family of immigrants from the poor and rural countryside in the eastern part of the Jamaican island. And when you live under when you live under colonialism for hundreds of years, there's certain human capital that you don't develop. Nobody comes out of the womb understanding markets, understanding enterprise, understanding investing. No one comes out of the womb being literate or numerate. So someone has to teach you these things. And many times in our environments in the inner city, we're not taught these things. It's not our culture within our family. We don't learn it on the street. We don't learn it at the park. And without this knowledge, this gap of knowledge leads many times to disparate outcomes that we experience. If you don't learn how to read and write, then 10 or 15 years later, when you're looking for a job or looking to start a business, you don't have the basic fundamental skills, and it leaves you at a disadvantage.
So you used to be lost and confused and unclear? It used to frustrate you. Yeah.
Yes. I would be frustrated because I've always been curious. I've always been intellectually curious. I've always been passionate about learning ideas, creativity. But you're around a culture. You're around people that don't respect that. There's no cultural, you don't get a gold star and a sticker for reading or for writing poems in your notebook. You're in my environment and the places that I've grown up in the Bronx, around the people that I've grown up, and you get respected for being ignorant.
Yeah.
You get respected for being the violent one. You'll be ostracized and criticized if you try to develop yourself, develop your mind, your intellect, if you speak properly.
So then this book is a story of it's poems,
transformation.
How you radically changed.
Yes.
Changed your life.
Yes.
Radically changed your life to reinvent yourselves and to
Absolutely.
reinvent yourself and challenge. Talk about that. Is that correct?
Absolutely. So you have that feeling of confusion, that feeling of frustration, that feeling of being an outsider. But through the person of Frederick Douglass, through the story of Booker T. Washington, through the stories of the Malcolm X's, people who transform themselves into statesmen, entrepreneurs, leaders, through first literacy. Literacy is the first step on the pathway to freedom. It exposes your mind to a wider range of possibilities in the world that are available to you. And then once your imagination is inspired in that way, entrepreneurship is the human imagination applied to problems that we face. So first, being literate, reading, feeding my imagination. I said, I'm valuable. I have something to contribute. I can contribute something to my fellow man and woman, in the form of powerful stories.
Yeah. And what would others learn by reading your book?
They will learn that change within oneself, within one's community, is always eminently possible. Our outcome is not determined by where we start, by our skin color, by what we don't have, by what we lack. We're not defined by the worst thing that we've done or the mistakes that we've made. We always, at any moment, have the opportunity to turn around and go in the right direction, to become smarter, to become more valuable, and to become more capable. And my goal is to inspire people to do that through my words and through my story.
What were you doing before you wrote the book? And what made you say, hey, this is what I want to do. I want to educate other people as to what I went through and what they can go through to help themselves.
This has been a passion of mine since a child. You have a Mozart, playing the piano at 5, 6, 7 years old, better than adults. This is my Mozart. This is my Beethoven. This is my gift. Words, storytelling, inspiring people, getting everyone in the room from diverse backgrounds to agree on one thing. Raising the sight level of people.
Yeah. Is it?
Yeah.
There you go.
So I've been building these skills for a while.
So the first one, what's the name of the first one?
Karl with a K. That's
Karl with
just
the
my
K.
first name, Karl with the K.
And the second one is
Volume 2.
Karl with the K, Volume
And
1
here's
and
the
Volume
third one
2.
on, right? And then this one is Omar, Man of Words. Omar is my middle name. It's Arabic for eloquent speaker, which is something that I strive to be.
There you go. Now, you have all of this up on the website somewhere?
Absolutely. I have a website that links outward to all of my social media channels. It's called Rich, R-I-C-H, radical.com, richradical.com. That's my website. And that's where people can go to learn more about what I do, to watch my videos, my content, connect to me on social media, and purchase my books if they would like.
Well, thank you so much. Author Karl Lawrence, thank you for coming on and sharing with us, okay?
Oh, thank you.
All right. Stay safe. Be blessed.
You as well.
Okay. Karl Lawrence, our author. Thank you for coming on BronxNet. All right, we'll take a break right here. We've got a whole lot more in store for you. Keep it right here. In fact, you can kick off your shoes and relax your feet if you want to. Right here on Open.
Special treat here this morning on BronxNet as we get a chance to talk with a producer who's doing some big things in the world of sports films. And we welcome right now with Edwin Mejia Jr. Edwin, how are you? How's everything going?
Doing well, Bobby. Thank you for having me. Managing as best as we can, considering obviously the circumstances, but we're doing well.
That's great. And of course, Generation Iron, the film series starts in 2013. Now you got this new one out, Natty for Life, and it's doing really great, both in Google and, of course, on iTunes.
Yeah, we've been very, grateful, honestly. We've had quite a run with this series of Generation Iron films. And it's turned into a franchise in many ways, because ever since we rolled out the first film in 2013, which opened up top 5 highest grossing doc at the box office, it's just grown in momentum. And globally, everybody recognizes Generation Iron now, which is really great. So now we have released Generation Iron 4, and it's opened up as the #1 sports documentary on Apple iTunes, and it's been #1 on Google, and it's #2 documentary overall in the country, which opened up last week. So we're very happy about that.
That's fantastic. And for me, for watching the doc, I was just so impressed about the deep dive that goes into the world of natural bodybuilding. I'm sure there are so many people that don't know about the sport, and how you guys were able to kind of capture both ends of those that are using steroids and those that are not.
The most important thing for us, after we did, Generation Iron 1 and highlighted the sport of bodybuilding and fitness and Mr. Olympia, we delved into the social media aspect and the growth of influencers and fitness in part 2. And in part 3, it became more of a global, outlook on bodybuilding and fitness. And now Generation Iron 4, we realized there was a lot of misconceptions. It was more of an attempt for us to expose the truth behind, being the whole natural claim in the sport of bodybuilding, which is very taboo in many ways, but also not talked about. And now when you have so many different films and topics coming up regarding being vegan, natural, organic, and, in the sport of bodybuilding, it's no different. And I think with medicine and technology changing at such a rapid pace across sports, we felt that this was an appropriate opportunity and story to tell. So we started working with one of the natural organizations in the bodybuilding industry and highlighting a few of their athletes. And we also had Michael Hearn, who's the former American Gladiator, Kai Green, who's known obviously from Generation Iron. And we had them both come on and be part of the film to tell their stories and, give an objective viewpoint on their thoughts on obviously natural bodybuilding and some of the athletes as well, like Rob Terry.
Yeah, I was going to say Rob Terry and Arnold Schwarzenegger as well.
Exactly. So, Arnold has been a big critic as well, the changing physiques in the sport of bodybuilding and in fitness. So, we felt it was important to make sure he was involved as well.
From a filmmaking perspective, how challenging was it to kind of tell all of the different angles that go into this conversation?
Yeah, that's a great question. We realize that there's a lot of stories out there. There's a lot of athletes and talent, around the world. And one of the biggest challenges that we face is obviously being able to, tell people's story, be as genuine as possible, making sure that their stories are told in a light where, you're able to get as much information in depth as possible. And sometimes that creates a challenge, when you're traveling, this is obviously before COVID. We did have a lot of challenges with, language barriers, but the good thing is we had a lot of different people involved in our project and our productions that were able to kind of, have the athletes trust us. So after Generation Iron 1, we were able to get a lot of trust from the athletes because they see what we've been able to do and create a lot of empathy, being able to tell their stories, integrate their families and show the lifestyle. And that's kind of how everything started to evolve and continue to create, great programs and shows and films with the athletes that we work with.
I can see why it's top on the charts because I love to see all the little vignettes of all of the different bodybuilders, especially someone like Rob Terry, who's 38 years old, 6'4", 280 pounds, but he also happens to be a firefighter.
Yeah, it's someone, you can relate to. And that's one thing I love about these guys. I mean, a lot of them like Rob Terry, not only are they're smart guys, there's this misconception with bodybuilders that they don't have brains and, they don't have real jobs. And these guys, have families, they're, have tremendous humor, great to work with, really great people. And, it's about telling their stories and creating empathy with their stories, like I said. And Rob is one of these guys that really represent a crazy, story, but also an amazing American story in a way where, started working in WWE and now he's a firefighter. He believes in being very natural, and that's what the film is about. It's really telling a story because a lot of people don't believe he's natural. And we do a lot of drug testing in the film as well. It's pretty interesting.
Interesting to hear these conversations coming from someone or different types of people that are just so dedicated to health, dedicated to their diet, dedicated to working out every single day, and the type of kind of drawbacks that to some degree because I think what seems to happen is it takes them away from their families.
Certainly does. I mean, what bodybuilding and fitness overall, have done, especially through the eyes of the athletes that we featured, it also has a lot to do with discipline, and an outlet. It's become an outlet for a lot of these guys, a lot of these athletes, and being able to kind of empower themselves with their minds and being able to do what they do best, and being able to perfect their physiques in many ways, and being able to be a better version of themselves. And those are things that we really respect, admire, and I think what we show is that you can carry those things obviously to other components in your life. And so a lot of these athletes, especially like Kai Green throughout the years, Rob Terry, of course, really highlight that really well in the film.
And another discussion that comes up in Natty for Life is whether or not, steroids are good or bad for the sport.
That's a great, that's a big topic. It's a great topic. One of the things that we tend to do is we tend to bring an objective viewpoint, bring in different doctors, talk about the advancements of steroids, but also talk about, what are the repercussions? What are the implications involved? What are the, and those are things that we tend to highlight a lot. A lot of people in the industry don't particularly like to talk about it, but we make them feel comfortable enough talking about them, and obviously talking about enhancements, because they do affect, the youth, and obviously their way of looking at things. It just really, really depends. And having that on a platform like Generation Iron, it really provides a different viewpoint and education as well, which is what a lot of people don't have.
And as someone that's been a big baseball fan, and steroids, of course, has been in the game, it seems to have been in the game for a good amount of time, and reading stories like Jose Canseco talking about, steroids actually being a good thing. There are so many athletes that seem to be split on the conversation. Some will seem to tell you, and it comes up in the doc, about how, maybe steroids don't hurt you. Really interesting debate.
Me, myself, I've been a baseball fan my whole life. I played baseball in college. And I remember freshman year, there were guys that I did see as well that were taking steroids. I had no education on it. I had no information on it. I didn't delve into it. But I think that it's important for you, especially youth, getting more awareness and information about that, because it can certainly affect them if they don't know what they're doing. And that's the whole point with bodybuilding as well.
Edwin, before we let you go, ultimately, what is the biggest goal with this film franchise? Because it seems like you guys have something really, really going very strong here, both you and Vlad.
Yeah, when we started Generation Iron, we met with the original producers of Pumping Iron and director, Jerome Gary, George Butler, and those guys, and we realized we just grew a movement. And now it's turned into part 4 in a franchise series. Really, our goal is to continue to create localized content as well. We want to be able to tell similar stories in other parts of the world. I think that one thing that we do really well is that we're telling these type of stories in the bodybuilding world within a niche world that continue to kind of expand into more mainstream audiences. And we want to continue to do that with all of our films and all of our content, especially with our Generation Iron series, and continue to inspire.
Well, congratulations. A really incredible doc. I enjoyed watching it, and I encourage all the fans at home to check it out.
Thank you, Bobby. Yeah, you guys could go on GenerationIron.com, and you can get all the details there for iTunes, Amazon, Google Play, Vimeo, and Vudu.
Perfect. Thanks again, Edwin. I appreciate you taking the time. Congratulations.
Thank you, Bobby.
Welcome back, everybody. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee, and our next guest are co-chairs of Slow Food NYC. They join us today for a look at their work. We welcome Kelly McGlinchey and Martina Rossi. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank
Kelly
you for
and
having
Rossi,
us.
that you guys have been doing in our wonderful community.
Kelly and I have been chairing the New York chapters of an international organization, Slow Food, that has chapters almost all over the world. And we have been co-chair for the last 3 years. We have been on the board for longer than that. And Slow Food was born out of, in Italy, actually, in 1986, a long time ago. And it was kind of a response to homogenization of food and big chains. In fact, it was the anecdote is that was founded when the first McDonald's opened on the in Piazza di Spagna in Rome. And so the movement, which is very much kind of a grassroots movement, has expanded since then. And, you know, we believe in good, clean, and fair food. So we're looking at the food chain and the food system under different angles. And here in New York City, we are very involved with programs that involve youth education. One of our most impactful programs is called Urban Harvest. And it's two components. One is our work during the school year in schools in New York City. And then in the summer, we operate a farm as a resource for community organization in East New York, in Brooklyn.
Kelly, how important is eating foods or growing foods from the areas that you live in?
Well, you know, it's really interesting, Bob, here in New York City. It's something that's really important to us, but we have to think about it a little bit differently than other slow food chapters across the world. As Martina just mentioned, there are slow food local organizations all across the country, all across the world. And Martina and I, with our board, are really focused on the 5 boroughs of New York City. So when it comes to growing your own food, we talk a lot about how that can translate to an urban setting, to often an apartment setting. Growing growing anything and everything from and everywhere from, balconies to sidewalk gardens to a sunny windowsill. So that is definitely a big component of the way that we think about food. And it's I think, a little different here in the city. You know, you can't necessarily rely on growing a large portion of your own food, but one thing that we like to think about here at Slow Food is that anyone can grow anything, even if it's a small thing, and that can make a big difference in both our environmental impact and also our health.
What can you grow on your window, on a sunny windowsill?
Well, I would turn around my computer, my camera, to show you my windowsill if it wasn't so messy.
What are you growing?
Well, in my apartment, we have basil, we have mint. I actually happen to have access to a rooftop garden, so I grow. Slow Food internationally has a program called Arc of Taste, and Arc of Taste is all about preserving biodiversity and protecting plants that are endangered, right? Plants and also growing traditions. Going way back. And so I have a few heritage beans and peppers that are Slow Food Arc of Taste vegetables growing above my head right now.
Do you have a green thumb? Both of you guys have green thumbs, huh?
I would say Kelly has a slightly more apt green thumb that I have, but I love plants and I grow stuff too, and it's
you're underselling yourself. You have a green thumb too.
We love to go see what grows in our farm in East New York.
Yeah.
We go there, of course, regularly, and right now we are starting to see a lot of beautiful tomatoes and herbs and greens. So it's exciting.
Yeah, and this is healthy too. When you're eating a lot of greens, that really, because a lot of people, like in the inner cities, don't have access to a lot of that,
Yes,
exactly.
Yeah.
So a big thing with Martina mentioned our school garden program. We've been doing that for over a decade, and that really is all about bringing this element of how do you grow your own food in a New York City school space. And a lot of our teachers that we work with through that program are incredible innovators who really have the health and well-being of their students top of mind. Yeah. And they'll turn, a paved concrete patio in the back courtyard of the school into a thriving, abundant, productive space for the kids to really get their hands in the soil in a way that's, again, good for both their body and mind.
Yeah, I'm still trying to figure out how to do that windowsill thing, because I have an avocado plant, but I can't get any fruit from it. What happened? How big does it have to grow in order to get fruit?
Big. If you can sprout it, and it's a fun little experiment in regrowing food from a food scraps essentially. But it's tough to get a full avocado in New York City. Keep trying, Bob.
Keep trying. I got to tie the thing up, put a stick, hold up the branch or the stalk, because if something grows on it, it's going to tilt over. It's going to be so heavy.
Exactly.
So that's good. Wonderful. And you're teaching a lot of youngsters about going from seed to harvest, huh?
Yes, this is the program that we ran up until this year. So maybe then we will talk about how we reinvented ourselves post-COVID. And yes, we work with...
Well, how did you do that?
How did we do? Like a lot of us, we sort of looked at what we had, which was this beautiful plot, rich with vegetables and the resources. And this year we couldn't really have camps for kids in the summer. So we are starting community food distribution. We harvest and we work with a couple of different organizations, and we have just recently pivoted into that. At least, there's no vegetable that will go to waste. We have managing farmers taking care of the farm and volunteers to help with distribution.
Yeah, don't let it go to waste. If it's going to overripen, give it to me. I'll put it in a big pot and mix it all up with a bunch of stuff and make a soup.
Of course.
Exactly. Waste not, want not.
That's right. So what's your next project? I mean, harvest time is like not far away now, huh?
Yeah, so we are just building off of what Martina just said. COVID, and everything happening here in the city with the pandemic, like many nonprofits, really put a halt to our normal operations. So, no pun intended, we've been moving a little bit more slowly this summer, getting our programs back online.
Yeah.
So in some ways, though, to your point, Bob, that, the harvest season is coming up. So we've really only just started being able to get food off the garden, really getting it kind of back up and running in a safe way for our volunteers, safe way for our farmer. So we're anticipating, next big project for the fall is going to be continuing and growing this food distribution, specifically within East New York. And then we're also looking at other ways to engage with our community during this time. A big part of slow food and the slow food ethos is about finding ways to gather around the table to build community, and food is obviously the nexus for that. So we've been, experimenting with different ways to do that with our community, virtual happy hours, community cookbooks, and we're looking to keep, building that through the end of 2020 and potentially beyond.
Well, thank you for all the work that you guys are doing in growing that slow food. Why did they name it slow food?
Just a way of taking food, but every aspect of it, and life too, that doesn't compromise in terms of quality and understanding of the process. And then on the other spectrum, of course, we're very familiar with what fast food is. So I would say it was really born as the opposite of that kind of life.
Opposite of fast food, yeah. Yes. Slow food. Everything's slow. Slow is good.
Slow is
good. Taking time to slow down and savor, right?
Yeah. Chew your food well, and get the nutrients and vitamins that's intended for your body and your cells, and take it slow, and let your body absorb it all.
And take time to also get to know the story of your food and the people who grew it, and again, slowing down and really understanding the process and the story behind your food.
I like it. Kelly, speaking about what's that plant behind you?
This is a Monstera plant, which is very Instagram trendy right now. It's a jungle plant, not edible, but does really well indoors. And it actually, it should be climbing. I need to give it something to climb up.
Does it give off oxygen?
Yeah, yep, definitely good to have green plants in your home of any kind, even if they're not edible, from my health and well-being. I know they've been very important to me, and I know Martina also during the pandemic, from just a mental and emotional well-being standpoint.
Well, thank you guys so much. Where can we go? I want to see some of this on a website. Can we go to a website and see what you're doing?
Yes, it's slowfood.newyorkcity.org. So you will
Thank
find
you guys so much.
Slow Food NYC.
More about our work there.
All right. The board chairs of Slow Food NYC, Kelly McGlinchey and Martina Rossi Kenworthy. Thank you guys so much for stopping by and sharing that wonderful information with us.
Thank you, Bob.
Thank you, Bob.
It's great to be with you.
Okay, and perhaps we can go out there and maybe farm a little bit. I have my farmer's pants.
Farm.
I have my farmer's pants over there. Yeah. We have to go to Brownsville?
East New York. Mm-hmm.
Yes. East New York. Next to Brown. All right, East New York.
Right next door. Right next
door. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much. Thank you for your service, and thank you for all that you're doing and educating our youth and educating people about the Slow Food NYC.
Thank you, Bob.
All right. We'll take a break. We've got more slow and good stuff on the way next on Open. Wow, funny how time flies when we're having fun, right? Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's show, and I want to thank you, our guests, for joining us, and you, our viewers, for tuning in and checking it all out. You can keep following us on BronxNet for continued coverage, and we'll just take good care of you, all right? It's election time. I mean, we're like 80-something days away, 79-something days away, and it's right upon us. You have to make sure you exercise your right to vote. Think of this: REV, R-E-V, register, educate, and vote. It's important. That about does it for me. Always remember this: what you are is God's gift to you. What you make of yourself is your gift to God. So choose your choice. Let your choice control the chooser of the Dr. Bob Lee. And I'll catch you over 107.5 WBLS. For all of us here at BronxNet, have a great, enjoyable day. We love you all. Peace.